here
Oh,
in outside of Philadelphia. So I bet you a bunch of you can join me in feeling that pain of that warmth of that summer heat. I see some head nodding there. Natasha in particular, I see you smiling, that big smile too. So we're right there with you. All right. So let's get right into it, Christine, because I'm nosy like you are. So let's get a little nosy. I want to know actually what's going on in everybody's accounting and finance organizations in their shops. So let's go to a poll question. Okay? Let's go like right to it. All right. So everybody has to participate in this, especially if you want CPE credits. So let's go right to a poll question, Christine. All right. Because I'm
I
going to
love
want to
it.
get your reaction to it. All right. Poll question one, everyone. Which statement best describes your finance, accounting related organization today? Okay. All right. We fully trust our numbers.
Mm,
We trust the numbers after some reconciliation.
I love a good reconciliation.
Yeah. Different teams produce, that shouldn't be product, Greg. It wouldn't be Greg without at least one spelling error. Produce different answers. It depends on the question. Not all our data is clean.
You know what? I say depends all the time. Our folks here at Avalara, when they ask me a question, they pretty much know my answer is going to be depends.
Now you can only answer one, right? So everybody's got to pick one of these, all right?
I'll be shocked if the biggest one isn't that different teams produce different answers. I'd be shocked
Yeah,
if that isn't the number one thing.
yeah, yeah. Let's see what everybody says. I'll let Greg do his typical countdown clock. Uh, he's so good at it.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
we
Look at that.
trust the
I am
numbers after
wrong.
some reconciliation. All right, Christine. All right, we're already making
See?
it interesting. You guessed wrong on the first one there.
But I
Okay.
said I love a good reconciliation, so I get it.
Yeah.
But that actually just brings up something interesting. I mean, we're all accounting and finance people, right?
Yeah.
And accountants love to be able to prove numbers. Finance people
Yeah.
love to be able to prove numbers. So that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and it also means this also goes to what we've been talking about a lot in Q1 and Q2 as I traveled across the country and brought us together via roundtables, via our dinners, via one-to-ones, via industry cohorts, is that we're doubling down on our people, we're
Yeah.
doubling down on huddling up, and we're doubling down on conversation. And we're like, look, let's dig into these numbers. We're also having a hell of a lot more conversations. And we're
Yeah.
saying, go back and let's try to reconcile these. And let's look, the key word there is trust. Like, let's go back and look into this and let's like see if we can't get to some type of level of understanding and get to the quote bottom of it. Let's reconcile it, and then let's go back and let's try and have these conversations. I got asked a very interesting question that I want to pose to you, and maybe
Hmm.
post into the chat too. How important is it that we as finance leaders be really strong natural conversationalists in our respective roles in this day and age?
I think it's super important. I mean, communication, I mean, especially finance. I mean, finance has this overarching bridge over every department in an organization. And you've got to be able to communicate, not just in finance language, but language that operations can understand and HR can understand. I mean, to me, I think just being able to talk and have communication and not every communication is always an easy one to have. Sometimes those are hard conversations, but communication to me is so important to break down silos, to bring issues to the forefront, and then talk through those issues. So I think communications is certainly so important.
Yeah, I mean, Richard said it here in the chat. It goes right to this like 5 years ago versus right now. If you can't
Oh my
communicate,
gosh.
you won't find the issues or resolve workflow issues. I mean,
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
This is the shift. The shift framed this whole session. The shift 5 years ago, job was, right? Produce reports, close the books, explain the variance, and then wash, rinse, repeat. And I think we not only like trained ourselves that way, we hired that way,
Yeah.
deployed that way, built our organizations that way, built and designed our tech stack and our processes that way, took our jobs and made job moves and did our diligence that way,
Yeah.
did our acquisitions that way. We're like,
Oh,
no,
yes.
integration. Just make sure that we can do that and scale that, right?
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
I think about this from a tax perspective. I worked for a large hospitality company, and we would go through these audits, and we never communicated back out to the organization the results of these audits. So nobody changed anything. So 4 years later, we go through another audit and we get hit with the same thing. And we're like, what? But we
yeah.
never communicated. So so important. I mean, to your point, at 5 years ago, everybody, here's your job, this is what you do. And today, there's this broad impact on everything. And I mean, insert AI into it too. And sometimes I feel like it's making us dumber because we're not communicating because we're just using AI to do those things.
I actually think it's forcing us to slow down and have more conversation, embrace asking more questions. And by the way, I don't think people want to be asked more questions, but we need to be asking them. I think it's why we need to slow down and add more steps in our diligence processes. And that could be job diligence, it can be tech diligence, it can be any type of decision diligence, right? We have to
Yeah.
own decision velocity, but in some ways we're like have to almost like pull back and be like, do we really have everything we need to make that decision, right? Like here we own decision velocity, but it hasn't gotten easier to own decision velocity,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Um, it's really interesting to me. It's a completely different mandate. It's empowering. It's exactly why so many finance leaders and their teams feel like they're doing more work than ever. But I also feel like we're getting and they're getting less credit for it. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
that's interesting. And I think finance kind of, and I mean, I experienced this. We're like, how come our expense reports aren't being paid? We forget about all of the other things that the finance teams are working on. They don't, I mean, kind of like filing tax returns. Nobody cares about filing tax returns until they're filed late. Nobody cares about the finance team until something falls apart.
Yeah, so if they're getting less credit for it, let's dig
Yeah.
into why that gap exists. So I'm going to put you on the spot. All right.
Okay.
So
Put me on
let's
the
move to
spot.
the next slide. Okay, Greg, because I'm going to put Christine on the spot. Why does finance still feel slow? Okay, you talk with finance organizations every day. Why are most of them have modern ERPs? Okay, or
Yep.
at least they're being told I let
Yeah.
you I let you implement one, or you moved into a new job, and you were sold that you had one in place, or you were going to be given the keys and the
Yep.
budget to put one in place. More tools, you have more tools and more data than ever, right? Why does
Mm.
finance still feel slow? Is that
You
a
just said it though, Nick.
yeah,
You said
right.
it. You have more tools and more data.
Okay.
Well, now I get stuck in this data. I have so much data, and I get into this almost analysis paralysis that I don't know what to do. And I mean, we're certainly guilty of this internally. We have so many tools. I'm like, I don't even know what to do because I've got so many tools. But here's the thing that I think is so important for everybody to remember is I can have data tell a story. I can pull the data to tell the story that I want to tell, but I think the important part in finance is you have to pull the right data to tell the story. So why does finance feel slow? I think it's because there's so much data and there's so many tools, and we're trying to build these processes around all of these tools and all of this data to make the decisions, and you get stuck.
So is it okay, let's go through each of these then. All right.
Yeah.
As it relates to a technology, right?
Yeah.
Like walk us through them. All right. Mm, mm, mm. You can't rush past any of these three, right?
No.
But how do you stage these? Okay. You've got data, you got process, you got governance, and you got problems and issues and opportunities with all three. Okay. Where does the effort go to begin with? Right? If
Oh,
you're,
like the chicken or the egg, which one comes
yeah,
first, right?
yeah.
You know what? That is such a fantastic question because I think about, to me, I always try to find the root cause of the issue. So
The
in
most
my mind,
manual effort? Right.
it's,
Like where?
so, I mean, if you look at the data, you see some anomaly and you're like, oh, what is that? Let me get into the root cause. And maybe that root cause is a process issue. So do I use the data to define the processes, or do I have processes and then refer to the data to refine the processes, which then drives the governance of who owns what? That's to me, that's the
Right.
magical
Yeah.
question is
Yeah.
which one comes first? Because I think depends on where you are in the life cycle as to which one comes first. It may be, to your point, Nick, is hey, I'm implementing some new ERP, the new modern ERP. Well, maybe I'm using that data to define my process, and then I got to change my process and go back to that data. So I don't know if there's a right or a wrong answer. I think it
Then let's
depends
make yeah.
on where you
Then,
are and
then
in
let's
the life cycle.
then let's make this real for everybody, okay? And let's go to poll two to see where effort goes. Okay. Um, where does
Brad, you're spot
finance?
on. Brad's
Yeah,
totally, if you see Brad's comment, they're all interconnected and
they
really
are.
iterative. 100%.
They are. So where does finance spend the most manual effort? Let's look at manual,
Mm,
okay?
mm.
You got closing, reporting, data cleanup, tax, executive board, investor requests,
Oh.
and other. And if it's other, tell us in the chat what the other is. If it's
Gosh,
other.
there's some good ones out here. I mean, me, a little self-serving, I would say tax,
Mm.
but I have been on the side where the executives and the boards and the investors, they want so much information and so many questions about the financials that come out, but data cleanup, again, it kind of goes to this chicken and the egg. What, wow, this
Yeah,
is a
that could
great
be applied.
question.
That could be applied to all of the others on the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna go with executive board. I was wrong the first one though.
Yeah,
Let's
I would have
see.
gone with that too.
Yeah.
But let's see what everybody says.
You know, I think AI has helped with closing so much. I've seen all of
Yeah.
these tools that people
Yeah.
are using to help clean up.
As we
So
traveled around in Q2, I would say that's where we saw the most application
yeah,
of AI.
yeah,
And we're
data
seeing it
cleanup,
there.
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Data
Yeah.
cleanup and reporting.
Those two go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
With bad data, then your reporting's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, you got a lot, you must have a lot of Avalara users there because look, you were down to 5% there. That's good. You have happy customers there. So, okay.
But I mean, if you think about the tax side of things, right? Just this whole provisioning and being able, because I mean, if you're putting future audit liability, future tax liability, that affects the bottom line. So I totally get that you spend an awful lot of time doing that because it has a direct impact on the bottom line, which then relates to reporting and data cleanup too. So I see that too.
Yeah. Okay. So
Ah,
the first part of all this was like in the mechanics of the numbers and what we see as the behind the scenes, the numbers themselves, the spreadsheets. I waited 22 minutes to say the word spreadsheet, which is a miracle, and the longest I've gone. But now we turn our attention to the D word, the dashboard, which all of a sudden is now everywhere. Everybody has a dashboard. Everybody's demanding a dashboard. Everybody wants their own version of a dashboard.
yep.
Everybody now can create a dashboard in a split second using any type of AI tool, Claude, ChatGPT, and
Yeah.
name the tool. It will create a dashboard and it can now know exactly how you want to see it. Let's talk a little bit about this dashboard illusion. This is really your territory. Okay. You know, dashboards aren't the problem, right? They expose, in many cases, okay, they can create an illusion, right?
Sure.
I've seen them give beer muscles to many people. And those of you that know what beer muscles are, right? They create this idea of like, I now know everything I need to know, and I know more than you do, finance, right?
I know the status of our organization because I've got
Yeah.
this dashboard that tells me everything that I need to know.
Yes, yeah, get out of the way. I got it, right?
Yeah.
So and by the way, my dashboard's never wrong.
Never.
Right? I don't care what your numbers were. My dashboard's never wrong. Or right, in some ways they can surprise people in a good way. Let's take a
Yeah.
positive light of it too. How do we really embrace the positive use of dashboards? Where do they really fit in all of this? How do we create a healthy environment around all this as well?
Such another fantastic question. So we've got some metrics. And I mean, our dashboards, it's funny, before everybody joined, we were talking about a dashboard that I shared with one of our folks that said, hey, look at this. I can see the effectiveness of certain things. So I think dashboards are great, but it's kind of like AI, right? You can build a dashboard to tell the story that you want to be told rather than really the health of your organization. And I want to share with you something that we do at Avalara that relates to, and I'll call it a dashboard, but it's just one metric within a dashboard. We have this called CPO, customer pissed off. And we actually pull in data from all sorts of places, and we can tell when a customer is mad simply by the number of support cases they have. But we can, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things that go into this metric. And it's a whole dashboard that we can actually take a customer and based on their CPO score, look at this and say, hey, I've got a problem with this salesperson. Or maybe we've got a problem with this integration, but it gives this view, but then you can dig into the details of it. And I mean, to me, it's a fascinating metric that each of the pieces of data that go into this metric are weighted and we change it. We go through some changes throughout each year to fine tune it. I mean, for 22 years, we've been fine tuning it, but to me, it's such a fascinating metric to have and a dashboard to have around our customers, around our vendors to see. But then the devil's in the details, right? Being able to dig into that and getting the real story behind this. Is this a customer problem? Is this an integration problem? Is this a people problem? So dashboards again tell this story, but do you want to dig in and see some opportunities to make some changes, to make your company more efficient, make them more profitable, make sure that there aren't any things that are hidden that you hadn't seen before or didn't even notice on your dashboard? But yes, CPO is to Brad's point. I love CPO, and I think every organization could actually benefit from this CPO metric and being able to dig into all of those details and figure out where you need some a health check with certain people, certain processes. And that really what defines how we change processes internally at Avalara too.
You know, but what I also like that you said and what you have here is that, and one of our members brought it up to me in one of our one-on-ones, you know, because we try to do these every quarter. We spend a little time one-on-one with members, Greg, and our operating partners like Don Voss and Sam and others. You know, we kind of do a little bit of an intimate one-on-one where we just kind of get together and talk about priorities and issues and
Yeah.
opportunities. And one of our members said to me, you know, we went dashboard crazy and
Yeah.
everybody had a dashboard and we
Yeah.
forgot that there needed to be, you know, process and governance behind the
Yeah.
data, feeding the dashboards. Everyone
Mhm.
went like governance light and, you know, like didn't want to dig deeper into ensuring that what was feeding these dashboards, there was a
Should
level
be feeding the
of
dashboards.
should be feeding the dashboards. Right. And
Yeah.
so, you know, it's almost like we gave up the rules of the game still need to be in place.
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah. Not everybody needs to see all of the data. If you make it
Yes.
available to everybody, people are going to find stuff you
Yes.
don't want them to see.
Finance lost a little bit of control there, and
Oh,
it got a little
100%.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You
on the
know,
one hand, we
we,
want to empower others to create that decision velocity, but we want to make sure that we still kept the under level of governance in place to ensure that it doesn't go rogue, which
yeah.
goes to what everybody's probably quietly doing. Maybe I'm not trying to shame. If Natty's on here, he's going to love this. So get ready, Natty. If you go to the next slide, I'm about to throw a term everybody's probably thinking. There it is.
Mm,
What we call shadow finance. Uh, it's
yeah.
something that it's right.
Yes.
You know it, Natty?
Yes.
Hey, I've got this great modern ERP, but look what I'm going to do. I'm going to download an Excel and I'm going to do my own reports and I'm going to reconcile this on my own. And your department has your spreadsheets, my department has their own, and we're going to do our own calculations that don't relate to anything. And now I've got this Frankenstein of a system, but I
And I can
spent millions of dollars on a modern ERP.
Christine, do you work at the Savannah Bananas?
Oh goodness. What I hadn't heard this phrase shadow finance, but wow, it is so accurate.
Yeah, it's scary too. I mean, to me is like this used to be offline. This is no longer. This used to happen offline. This,
Yeah.
this is now happening in real time everywhere, right?
Well,
And
let's talk about this one a little bit
yeah,
for just a quick second because I mean, I am embracing this AI world, right? I mean, I love a good reconciliation, but I also know that there's a better way to do things. And I mean, we're all accountants. We love to be able to prove our numbers, and giving it to some AI tool feels a little bit scary. And I mean, I go back to when I was in hospitality. We literally had, and this is totally aging myself, green bar paper. And when we got WYSIWYG, woo, that was such a big thing because I could bold and italicize and underline things. And I mean, that was us 30 years ago. And I look at where we are today, that all of this stuff in the cloud, and I don't have to do any research, and it just automatically makes these tax calculations and automatically creates tax returns. And how far we've come in 30 years. But that's also a little scary that you've got to
yeah,
bring people up into this modern world and maybe trust but verify, right? Kind of like that first slide that you had, Nick. Trust but verify that, hey, these manual reconciliations, just because you're used to doing that doesn't mean that that's what you have to do. Have some trust but verify that you can use these tools to do what you need to do. Kind of like the tools to help close faster. Hey, you
yeah,
still have reconciliations that you have to do. Use those tools to your benefit. There's so many systems out there to help you do your jobs better. So, I mean, AI isn't going to replace anybody's job, kind of like when Henry Ford put together this whole system to build cars better, faster. It's this same concept. We're not taking away people's jobs, we're just changing how people do their jobs.
yeah. And that's the positive side of the story, right? Too. I
Yeah,
mean, look, this was meant to be, quietly make the official system usable, an invisible manual and everywhere. That's what the intention was. But we have to
yeah,
go back to also making sure that there's a framework and governance around that as well,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
this is where we also say, this is where our critical thinking and all of our experience really needs to be put into play. This is where our roles are actually more powerful, pertinent, and poignant, right? In this day and age, this is where I stay. Stop the discussion about us ever having fear of us being replaced. I think it actually elevates our responsibility.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's why I've seen some of our members take that chief AI officer role on top of the other C-suite titles they have. they take that on as well for these reasons because they're taking on that responsibility to make these official systems usable and visible, manual, and everywhere,
But while
right?
having the governance
While
that
having the
it's not
governance.
releasing
Yeah,
data that you don't want released to everybody internally.
exactly, exactly. So and not necessarily wanting or needing the credit for it either.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
right,
You know,
right.
and to me, that just brings up this point of there's processes within the finance department, but if you can define those processes and lead the way on how you can better operate as a business, hey, I'm no longer going to do these manual things. So now there's this process change because I've been able to define all of the data sources that I use for my spreadsheets and side calculations and reconciliations. Maybe there's a better way for us to do this so that I can spend more time negotiating better terms with a vendor or working with our IT team to do something different. So I think you're spot on with that, that finance really leads the way when it comes to these changes and changes in the process.
So I have a chat prompt for everybody. So get ready, fingers, everybody, and everybody has to answer this in the chat. Okay. So here's my question for you in the chat. What causes the biggest delay before you and your executive team makes an important decision? In one word, type that one word that causes the delay.
Oh, yeah, I knew it. Data. Analysis paralysis, right? Even getting access to the data. Yeah, data drives everything.
Misalignment. There's one.
Ooh, Bernadette, that's a good
No
one.
time.
Yeah,
Time.
that's two words, no time.
Time. You got
Yeah,
one time there. There you go.
analysis
Analysis
paralysis. Yeah.
paralysis.
Yeah, Bernadette, I love that phrase misalignment. That one, absolutely. That kind of goes to communication too, right?
Yeah, I like it. All things that we can address too, right?
Yeah.
They
I
all
mean,
kind of go
data.
together too, right?
Yeah, I
They
mean,
all kind
data
of,
here's fascinating to me. There's very few companies that I talk with every single week that have a single source of truth for data. They've got data over here in this system with ecom. They've got data over here. They're using a 3PL. They've got all of these sources of data. And to Brad's point of analysis paralysis, how do I get all of this data that makes it meaningful to me? To even be able to make a decision because I don't know what's more important than the other.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We got another poll question, right, Greg?
I'm not batting a
Okay.
thousand right now.
I know. All right. So one of your colleagues asks for a number. Think colleague,
Mm,
right? Think horizontally. All right. One of your leaders that you work with asks for a number. What usually happens?
mm.
We answer immediately. Someone has to validate first. Someone rebuilds the report in Excel. Several people compare different reports.
Somebody rebuilds the report. I mean, we're finance people. We love Excel. God, when I worked in a hospitality company, we literally built a compliance system around Excel where I could push a button and it brought in data and then did this whole analysis to see whether the hotel did their tax stuff correctly, and then it built the journal entries to book the under accrual. I mean, it did all, but we rebuilt these Excel things over and over and over again. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to answer immediately? There's that trust word, Nick, that you used early
Yeah.
on. You've got to be able to trust the
And there's the
information that's out there.
communication
Yeah.
piece to it,
Yeah.
because we definitely don't want them not asking either.
Yeah.
There's the
Someone
key
has to
piece.
validate. Hmm.
We still have a lot of people, several people comparing different reports. That we want
Hey
to,
Nick.
yeah,
Hey Nick, I'm sorry, I'm driving. I can't participate in the poll questions, but I've got to answer this question.
yeah,
What I find is something like when first of all when someone comes and asks for a question, usually what I've found is that if it's an owner or a leader of the organization, they actually don't know what they really want. So the
Yeah.
question that what
Yeah.
we should really be doing is asking them the second question of what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that'll save us a ton of time because you know what I'm talking about. A leader comes in and says, "Hey, let me ask you a question on this." It was literally just a question, but we in our heads go, "Oh my gosh, this is a priority. We got to go get the reports. We got to get the team on this. This is important." And all of a sudden you waste 3 hours. It's like, all I wanted to know was it positive or was it negative? You know, it's like, oh
Yeah.
shoot, we could have wasted. And secondly, and I'll shut up. But you asked a question earlier about what do we spend most of our time doing? In my opinion, what CFOs specifically spend most of our time doing, especially with all the different hats on our hat rack head that we wear, is explaining to other people why we do what we do. Because
Yeah.
we're the Dutch boy with like 7,000 fingers. So
Right.
Yeah.
with that, I'll keep listening passively. But thank you, first time caller, long time listener.
Love you, Natty.
Yeah, someone has to validate first. I mean, I 100% agree on all of these. I think all of these
Yeah.
could be something. But what's even more fascinating to me is we answer immediately with the ability to push a button. This goes back to that dashboarding thing. If everybody has dashboards, but nobody can push a button to answer a question, what good is that dashboard if I can't answer
Yeah.
those questions?
Yeah.
But to Natty's point is, um, I forgot where I was going. It was really brilliant what I was going to say. Oh, actually, here it is. Words matter. I mean,
Yeah.
I have people Slack me all the time and ask a question, and I'm like, what do you mean by this word? And they're like, Christine, just answer the question. I was like, no, no, no. You used a word that could take me
Yeah.
in all kinds of different directions. So I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. And then people are
Yeah.
like, ah, she's so complicated. Why does she overcomplicate this? I'm not overcomplicating it because words matter, and how I answer your question depends on how you think of this word.
Yeah. So true. So true. Okay. So let's talk about why trust breaks. Okay. And these are really handoffs.
Yeah.
Okay. And those handoffs, I almost feel like those arrows are like breaks. They're not smooth
Yeah.
at all. They're like the wrong graphic, like when this slide deck was built, because those infer that this is like, oh, a nice little like leap, right? There's erosion that occurs, potentially occurs with each of these moves.
I'd
Let's
almost
talk
put
about that.
processes before ERP.
Yeah, I would too.
Because, I mean, all of your processes is what drives what's in the ERP, which then drives the report, which then drives what leadership. But I completely
Th-
agree that there
There's
is
like that
erosion
should be
every
like
step
those
along the way.
arrows should be like trust, 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 not arrows,
Yeah.
right?
Well, well, then you get people that are kind of the yes man. Like, not every leader wants to hear the bad news, right? So people are going to sometimes tell you what you want to hear without, so I mean, you have to be able to trust the people that work for you and trust the data and the information that they get. So those business decisions 100% should rely on trust.
Yeah. And that goes back to really where our poll questions were, where it's really breaking is really where those points were
Yeah.
in the survey, the poll question that we did,
Yeah.
right? Um,
To me, there's
okay.
this question mark along each of these things. Do you, yeah, yes to the process first. Do you trust the process? Because to me, process is everything. If bad data goes in, if the process is broken, then your data is bad, which then has this trickle down theory throughout the entire organization.
Yeah, look at this that Alyssa put in the chat here.
Mhm.
Look at this comment. If you
Yeah,
saw this
huge
here.
recurring issue in reliable data, reporting that so many businesses struggle to put their finger on. Then the ERP absorbs the mistrust. Yeah.
Absorbs it. That's a good look at that word,
Mhm.
absorbs. It just takes it in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The
Unknowingly
argument.
takes it in,
Yeah.
right?
You know, it probably the phrase that I like the least is, well, this is the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't mean
Yeah.
that it's right. It doesn't mean that I
Yeah.
have to trust it. I mean, I went to a business analytics firm for a little bit, shocking. And when I first got it there, I noticed that three people did the exact same thing with the same data. And I was like, why? We're super inefficient in how we do this. How did we not identify this in our own analytics? So, so to Alyssa's point in here is sometimes it's the process first that you have to fix. And sometimes people put brand new modern ERPs in place because they think it's going to fix their process. When I think sometimes, I think most times, when you're putting in or looking at a new ERP is when you've got the time to step back and look at your process and say, maybe this is a great time for us to overhaul the processes. Change is good, transition stinks, but
Yeah.
in the long run, sometimes those changes are super beneficial.
Yeah.
So Nick, I would try. Hey, it's Andrew. Um,
Hey, Andrew.
Hello. I would build on what Christine is saying, is sometimes it's a level up from even the process. It's
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
Yeah.
that if you have people on the team who are wedded to this is the way we've always done it,
Uh,
or you know I'll pick the standard, post PE acquisition, the
Oh, yeah.
owner's cousin who happens to be your FP&A person or whatever it is, that before you even take a stab at the process, like define the process, but you need to think through, is the team you have
Hmm.
going to level up to that process?
Can they?
Or are you going to spend 6 months transitioning processes to find out that they're still keeping all their old files and just doing it the
Bro.
way they've always done it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, I'm going to placate you and follow that process, but really I'm going to do this. So now I'm taking twice as long because it's job security, because oh my gosh, if I change to this, I may lose my job. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So we got this far along. Look at that. Where AI helps and where it doesn't. Look, let's dig into this a little bit from your lens, Christine. I'd be remiss if I didn't get a little bit of an opinion here from your standpoint. You talk to finance leaders every day.
Yep.
Everyone wants it. What can it actually fix in your
Here's where I'm going to
opinion?
disagree. Not everybody wants it. Accountants don't trust AI. They want to be, I mean, I love a good debit equals credit, right? But not everybody trusts that what they're going to get from AI. So I mean, if I talk to finance people, they're still adopting AI, but not trustworthy. You talk to the IT people, and they're all about AI, which is kind of interesting. If we think back in early Avalara days, when we were the first company doing this tax stuff in the cloud, the IT people are like, no, we don't want our stuff in the cloud. It's not going to be very secure. And the finance people were like, heck yes, we get real-time tax calculations and rates. And now we've kind of flipped the script. And the finance people are like, AI, okay, we're kind of easing the finance people into it with the monthly close stuff and with reconciliations. So at Avalara, we use AI every single day. I mean, granted, I started using it to make my emails kinder, softer, gentler, and not just very matter of fact and direct. But I think people use AI without realizing that they're using AI. I mean, I can give you a great example of how we're using it. I mean, think of all the tax rates and tax jurisdictions and tax rules across the world. We'd have to hire a ton of people to be able to manage all of that. We used to call them bots, now they're agents. We're using these agents to scour it, but keeping the human in the loop. And I think that's the important piece of AI is having this human in the loop to one, you can get data through AI, you can have it go through AI processes and workflows, but having this human in the loop to be able to trust but validate. But I think it's just changing how everybody's doing their jobs. It's making us work smarter, not necessarily harder, with all of these spreadsheets that we all know and love. But it's now accelerating what it is that we can do and what we're capable of. And I mean, being able to close your books in just a couple days and then acting on the data that's available to you. I mean, I just went through my first half review and I had put a whole bunch of metrics in AI and said, give me an executive summary. That used to take me a week to do of like, let me look at all of this data and come up with my analysis. And I just gave my boss this executive summary that was spot on based on all of the data and the metrics that I had. So I think we're going to see if you've got good systems and good process, you've got AI that can certainly help you work smarter.
So as an accelerator, but once again, clean data and sound
Yeah.
process becomes
Yeah.
faster and sharper. But
Yeah.
you've built on a foundation of clean data and sound process and capable human, competent human,
Yeah.
confident human, committed human.
Well, AI is not going to fix a broken process, period. I mean, your point
Yeah.
on the screen is so very true. AI doesn't fix the world. It's not fixing this broken process. It may just exacerbate the broken process, if anything. But to also your point is the human side of things. I've got all of this data. It's going to make it easier for me to do analysis, but everything is dependent on the prompts that you put in. I
So
can ask a question
right
one
now,
way and get one answer. I can ask the same question where words matter, right? I ask a similar question trying to get to the same answer and I get a different answer.
so right now, through your lens of
Hmm.
these five, poor
Yeah.
implementation, broken workflows, disconnected data,
Mm.
manual tax processes, no ownership. Of those five, which one do you and your teams most often see as the root cause, or versus just a symptom of something else as being like the source of failure here?
I, great. I'll give you two answers. One,
Like
multiple
right
sources
now
of,
on July 15, 2026, because I'd love to ask that question in 6 months.
yeah. Disconnected data is the
Okay.
first one. Give me my other options again.
What I say? Poor implementation,
Yeah.
broken workflows, manual tax processes, no ownership.
No ownership,
Okay.
100%. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll take that one as the top one of no ownership.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's a human factor then.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But heck, I've been wrong on the
Yeah.
surveys in the
No, that's
past, but I'm going
interesting.
with no
Okay.
ownership.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that leads
That's
to
something we
governance
can
too.
control. That's
Yeah,
something we can control. Okay.
that's your
So we
governance
got the
piece of
data
things.
issue and we got the human issue of no ownership.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Another poll question. Which layer breaks first here? Okay. What is one process your team no longer fully trusts? We're moving into this now. Okay. All right.
Andrew put something interesting in the chat. It's
Yeah.
always the humans. I worked for a
Yeah.
CIO that
I
said
agree.
humans are bad. Humans make mistakes. And I was like, there's no truer word said right there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is. It's 100%.
So this
100%.
question is not a poll question, but more of a discussion question for chat.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. What is
oh,
one
what's one
process your
process your
team
team
no
no longer fully
longer
trusts?
trusts? All right.
Hmm.
Put that in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, that's an interesting question to ask. Middle of the year, it's very different than a year ago at this time.
Yeah.
We'd be saying, let's all try to identify one area that we can attempt to break, right? Now we've got areas where we're like, all right, everybody's trying to identify areas. Yeah, people have probably already identified areas there and they're breaking them. And now it's like, okay, which ones don't I trust?
Jody, let me repeat this question for you. What is one process your team no longer fully trusts? That's a tough one.
See, let's put these in the chat, please.
What's the name of the new event?
Oh,
Oops, sorry, that was my phone.
cash application on paid invoices. Yeah, RevRec. Ooh, George. Yes. Yes.
Inventory
Inventory
reporting.
reporting. I agree. I'm all with George on this one of RevRec.
Yeah, RevRec.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh, Andrew, you guys went on a journey of over trusting AI. Yeah.
Yeah, so now everybody's the skeptic, huh?
It's sort of in between that, like, it's the human in the loop piece
Yeah.
that if
Yeah.
you give AI a complete process, even if you've buttoned up the whole thing soup to nuts and, pressure tested it 10 times, one time out of 30, it'll still go off the rails. And so it's just the nature of how inference and the tokens and the temperature works.
Yeah.
But if you build it as step, validate result, step, validate result,
Yes.
then you get a process that you can work through and it works much faster. But I think it was anytime, I call it the Harry Potter rule. If you can't see its brain, don't
Yeah.
trust it. And so a lot of the tools that are out there that are like, oh, just ingest everything in the front end and it'll magically give you your MRR burn down schedule. And it's like, I don't trust you because I don't see how
Yeah.
you do your math.
I met with a VP of tax a couple months ago, and I had asked about their AI journey, and knowing that, and what was even more fascinating is I met with a group of CFOs in Texas. They wanted nothing to do with AI. I go to San Francisco, everybody was all over AI. And one of them, Andrew, did exactly what you said, that they had tried putting in, hey, I'm going to give you this file, and here's what I want back, and they didn't like the responses. And then they stepped by step through it and it validated it along the way, which then gave them their trust that they were looking for instead of this holistic prompt that maybe went off the guardrails one way. Give me this, then give me this, then validate this number. And it was very fascinating to me how she went through to get the answer that she was looking for, but she actually validated it all along the way to get the right answer.
It also reminds me, so many of you know that in addition to my finance background, I also am a lawyer by background, and I reminded of my first year of law school and the recent announcement by a number of law schools that have banned the use of electronic tools and computers for their 1Ls because they are now requiring that they show up and do all their work via written work because they're not convinced that they are actually, because we were called upon in class to stand up and articulate our
Yeah.
explanation as to explain our interpretation of what we were, our positions and interpretation of case law. And they were just concerned everyone was doing it all via AI. And
I met a professor from University of Washington a couple years ago, and she said it used to be that computer science was the degree to get, and now they're encouraging people to get accounting and finance majors because you can use AI to build the programs, but if you don't understand accounting and finance, you don't know how to use AI to do it. So
yeah,
interesting flip
yeah, it's
of
interesting that the term basis, BASIS, is now a popular foundation of learning again.
yeah. I mean, again, from the tax perspective side of things, I mean, again, I'm totally aging myself with the one right system. You learned how all of these things fit together because you didn't have the computers to do those things. And then when I worked in hospitality, we literally hand wrote tax returns based on data that we pulled together and manually put together. And I mean, I can tell you what goes on which line of a return, where right now there's people that just push a button and they're like, I don't know where any of this data comes from or what it means. I just pushed a button and voila, it was there.
Well, let's bring this why to your operating system here, why tax belongs inside the operating system. I'd be remiss if I didn't, steer it a little bit back to kind of in your world of specifically when companies grow, the tax complexity does increase with it.
Yeah,
Does it show up loudly or does it like sneak in? I think at times it does both.
it does both.
Unfortunately, when
Yeah.
it shows up loudly, we're usually doing this. Oh, shit, excuse my language.
Exactly.
So, where does it usually show up on that trust chain that we looked at before, right? Like, is it early? Is it usually one of the first places, and why does it belong inside the finance operating system conversation instead of it being treated as its own separate thing off to the side?
Well, it used to be that it was the IT people that managed all of this tax stuff, this transactional tax stuff. It was managed by the IT department because they got a CD-ROM or they downloaded a file and that's what got uploaded with rates and rules. And then what, I mean, again, my experience was we went through an audit and we're like, oh, we got to fix something, but we never fixed anything. We just did the same thing over and over again. And with this addition of software as a service and no longer taking IT out of the loop of things. And now the finance team, which owns this tax number and the tax obligation and the tax exposure, they now control their own destiny with this. So having it built into their system to where you don't have to rely on the accounts receivable person, the accounts payable person to make decisions that will affect you in the long run. So we're kind of making it easier. So where does confidence erode? Well, that first audit, that's really big,
Yeah,
right? And I mean,
yeah.
most people don't go to school to learn about transaction tax.
No,
I certainly didn't.
no, no. So we don't have a dashboard problem. We have an operating system problem. We need
Yep.
to start communicating, approaching it that way. The
Yeah.
next time tomorrow, this afternoon, let's start thinking about it that way. We all recognize trust drives execution
Yeah.
and governance creates trust. So we need to start there. And this goes back to how we need to help each other as it relates to governance frameworks. We can help each other. We're all working on them, built them, have built them. We need to be sharing them. We need to lean into each other to help each other ensure that we build and stand up appropriate governance frameworks. And we don't have to invent those from scratch. Yes, every organization has different governance framework guidelines, but we all can help each other by sharing,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I
Yeah.
know Avalara is there to help with that as well as a partner. So don't hesitate. Technology supports process, but it doesn't replace it. You taught us that. You may
Yeah.
know that. Look, I think at the end of the day, what I learned in the first half of this year from all of you and all my members is decision velocity is the real scoreboard now, right? It's not just accuracy, it's the velocity behind it, which is good and bad. Like I think it's what everybody's seeking. So, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, which is why we're going to meet again on July 29th, right? For part two.
I love
Got
it.
more to do.
I love it.
So part two is from CFO to operator, right? It's another. We're gonna continue with the series another hour. This one at 2 p.m. Eastern time, right? 11 a.m. Pacific time. So we'll be back at it again. Once again, we're going to spend an hour. We're going to make it interactive. If there's something anybody here wants us to raise as part of that part two of the series, bring it to us. Send us an email, a chat, or a note. Christine, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
To connect with me, I am Christine.Martin@Avalara.com. Would love to chat with you all, and I look forward to talking with you guys again on the 29th.
All right, we're going to see everybody back here on the 29th. The remainder of this month, we're meeting online. We'll be standing up our industry cohorts, and then we're back on the road in August, in person and online. Stay cool, stay well, stay connected. You know where to reach us. We're here for you. This community is here for you. If you need help with these governance frameworks or any part of standing up this operating system, addressing these issues, the team from Avalara, the team from the CFO Alliance are here to help. Thank you for joining us today. Christine, thank you. I love working
Thank
with
you,
you.
Nick. It's been a pleasure.
All right, take care, everybody.
Take
Stay
care,
cool.
everybody.
All right.